I'm going to let Demetris tell us a little bit more about the Roll of Fame, but if you are not familiar with the Rotary Roll of Fame, it's one of the highest honors in our district, and our club has decided to nominate Mr. Bob Flournoy. And since some of our members weren't able to attend the district conference, we had decided to have this day to honor him and let everyone attend. So we have our district governor-elect for District 5910, Ms. Demetris Harrell, and she's going to come up and say a few words.
Thank you to all of our impressive guests and our distinguished honoree. We recognize in Rotary from 1905 the establishment of fellowship. And I don't think that we can say anything greater than this gentleman, this giant of a man, knows how to fellowship. He has been distinguished in Rotary through not only his service, but also his giving. He pays tribute to what Rotary means. In 1998, I had that honor to become a Rotarian by a man we all know so well, a Hall of Famer, a Rotary Hall of Famer by the name of Joe Bird. Joe Bird would say that he expected all of us to not only be empowered by one another, but to also embrace the will of service. And so when we think of Roll of Fame, we think of a person that is passionate about the purpose of Rotary. One who remembers and acknowledges the will that we should give to eradicate things like polio. We know that that comes with a person who is of perfection, an attorney who supports his community, but also recognizes his commitment. And so when we think of the Roll of Fame in Rotary, District 5910, we have some requirements. I would say today that he has met all of them and then some. When I think of 50 years, that is the length of time that many of us have been on this earth. But for him, that is just one of his commitments and dedications to this thing we call Rotary. With 1.2 million Rotarians around the world, we know that North America says that we have something to prove. Prove that we will start at home in feeding the hunger. Means that we will start at home in building new projects. We say even in our four-way test that we will build goodwill and even better friendships. So this room is a collective reason for you to be present because you have become a friend of Robert Bob Flournoy. So when I think about this giant of a man, I would say that through his impressive career as an attorney, his mountain of contributing, his rock of friendship, his foundation of service around the world, he is recognized as a man who is a Hall of Fame. Let's, for just a brief second, know that this is the highest award, and I too have been able to have the pleasure of being nominated as a Roll of Fame. Many other individuals too in this club. But the honoree must have served as an officer or director of Rotary Club and must have been a Rotarian for at least 5 years with a prior submission in his name. The honoree must have an average attendance record that he is coming in good faith. The honoree must be able to say that he has attended his club and will have attended at least one of the district conferences. And in our city, we are proud to say that we have had many district governors. We named one just a moment ago. Charter Bernal has also been a district governor, and Gig Langston, a district governor. And beginning on July 1st, I will serve as a district governor. But the one thing I know that I need support from people, men and women that are taking the charge, and that Rotarian must be one who has been enrolled and outstanding and has taken on the consideration that his civic accomplishments have been admitted and recognized through his class of commitment. It is none better, none greater, and none other than our very own Roll of Fame for 22 in the year of 21-22. At our district conference in April, the latter part of this month, on the 22nd, we will gather together in Conroe, and we will recognize men and women from our clubs. In Lufkin, we have the pleasure to say that we have 3 clubs. This club, Lufkin, Angelina, and of course this club, recognizing a satellite. We have 40 clubs in our district. We just started a new club, and it was the E-Club. All of these things, we would say, is because of the wealth and the knowledge of one man, one that has raised his voice, one that has sought his reason, and one that we can say we are proud to honor and recognize as a Roll of Fame honoree, and this year a recipient. That is what I can say about what I would say is a friend to many, a friend to most, a beloved husband, a great father, a wonderful brother, a one that we all cherish. And so, receiving that highest honor, it is because Rotary means something to him, and it means something to me, to know that I still have a mentor that I can talk to, I can look up to, and I can say that we together can change the world one at a time. This next year, 22-23, we will have the first ever female president, Jennifer Jones, and her theme is what I'm wearing today in the theme pin. It is Imagine Rotary. Imagine Rotary with no more polio. Imagine Rotary with men and women who will stand for justice for all. Imagine Rotary with the commitment of men and women that would come and be part of the Roll of Fame because they have shown their dedication and unselfish commitment to the welfare of all in humanity. That is our Roll of Fame, and that is you, our great friend, Bob Flournoy. That is my moment of talking about our Roll of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you, Demetrius. Next, we will have our former mayor, who you guys all know, Mr. Jack Gordon, come up and say a few words about Mr. Flournoy.
The Honorable.
Hey.
The Honorable Jack.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if everybody should be able to do that. Well, I appreciate y'all having us here, Emily and the club. It's been a while since I've been here, and it's kind of like a homecoming for me. But I've been unofficially deputized by Mark Hicks to do this. I've known Bob since early 60s, I guess, something like that. And I cannot say enough good about the man. I will say, if Lufkin could have a favorite son, it would be Bob Flournoy. Demetrius done a great job outlining his Rotary work. We all know he's been a board member for the Salvation Army for a long time. But what we really don't know are the things that Bob does with no recognition. Now, Jackie Zimmerman has been outlining some of his more recent public things in the paper. Which keeps us all interested. But the things that he does without recognition are untold. And I don't know them all myself, but I know some of them. But I'm not sure a person that is that unselfish is kind of rare these days. So what Mark Hicks has done is declare today the Bob Flournoy Day
Wow.
for posterity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Next, we have one of our own Rotarians,
know.
Mr.
I
Bill
had no
Royal,
idea.
who's going to come up and say a few words.
Well, thank you, Zach. You make a good emissary.
It's interesting when you start trying to remember the past. Bob, were you president of Rotary, Lufkin Rotary, 78,
82.
82?
Yeah.
Thank you, because I was at 78, so I blew it, didn't I? but when he was
A lot younger than he appears.
Yeah.
when he was president of the Lufkin Rotary Club, the Lufkin Rotary Club had 125 active members. And that's the largest that the Lufkin Rotary Club ever was when Bob was president. And I think that's an honor that we ought to all remember. But understand Rotary back in Bob's early days, you had to really come every week. And if you didn't come, you were chastised or thrown out of the Rotary Club. I mean, it was that strict. The rules, the Lions Club didn't have those rules, so they didn't have to deal with it. But the Rotary Club, we played hard with those rules, and it was an interesting world to watch. And then Bob and Jeannie have been so good with the Rotary, our student exchange with the Rotary Club in Eastbourne, England. That went on for 50 years. And Bob and Jeannie went somewhere in the 80s with 5 other couples from Lufkin to Eastbourne to help plan that program and work on that program. And so it's been wonderful to watch Bob, all his connections to the Lufkin Rotary Club all these years, and we're thankful for that.
All right, next up we have Captain Phillips with the Salvation Army to come up.
All right. Hope all y'all doing well today. So after being in Houston, getting a call from my DC telling me that I'm coming back home to Lufkin, Texas to be the Corps officer in Lufkin, there was a message that I had waiting for me. Pretty much it seemed like it's been there for a while, but this person gave the Salvation Army a call and really wanted to meet me. And that person was Bob Flournoy. The first message that I had as a Salvation Army officer of Lufkin, wanting to meet me, wanting to go out and just have lunch together. Not knowing that when he said that he was going to invite me out to lunch, that he was going to bring me to Rotary.
That's true.
And so it is because, so I'm a Rotarian because of Bob Flournoy. But when I first met him, he was just a kind person. Being nervous coming back home, wondering what your employees would think, wondering what your church members would think, because a lot of the church members who were there were the church members who was there when I was 11 years old. And so just with all that going on, and to meet a person who was just eager to meet you was good. Bob has done a lot of good work in the Salvation Army. I believe he has been on the board for 40 plus years. I would even say 50. Am I going out? Okay. But he has done great work. I have connected with every officer from the time when I was here, from 11 years old to the ones who I replaced. And the one name that they all echoed was Bob Flournoy. That you got to get to know Bob Flournoy. Bob Flournoy has done a lot for the Salvation Army. I mean, his commitment, his dedication. I mean, he's totally committed. He's totally sold out to the mission of the Salvation Army, to help wherever he needs, to sit up there and bring others alongside of us to come and support us. He was a mouthpiece for the Salvation Army. He still is a mouthpiece for the Salvation Army. Bob has gotten our lifetime award as our advisory board member. Now, what that means is that he can take a break from being a board member. But man, I tell you, nope. He didn't take a break at all. Matter of fact, we have 22 people on our as part of our board. There's only one person who signed up for almost every committee to serve on, and that's Bob Flournoy. The only one he did not sign up on was finances. I don't know why. But he is committed. But again, he is committed. He's dedicated. When he says he's going to do something, he's going to do something. That's right. I had the privilege and honor of being in Dallas just last weekend, and I met another officer who stays in Atlanta now, and she speaks high volumes of him. It was officers who was here when I was a teenager, and that was Major Tim and Cheryl Gillum, who truly admires Bob. Matter of fact, they say that Bob helped strengthen their ministry and also strengthen their marriage. You know, see, Bob just looked beyond just a casual networking with the Salvation Army. But he took it personally. He developed personal relationships with people. He did it for me. He has done it for me and my family. And we really appreciate him. My kids adore him. My wife really loves Bob. But I can see why. Because again, he's a man who will give you all of himself, because that's just the person he is. Also, Bob has received one of the highest awards that you can get, even as being in the Salvation Army. And he got the Founders Award. I didn't know that until I went into his office and started looking around at all these certificates, all these awards and everything like that. And I happened to just look right behind him and see that he had gotten a Founders Award, which is a very distinguished award in the Salvation Army. And so that then told me again of his role as being the Salvation Army active board member. So Bob, I thank you for your heart. I thank you for your friendship. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Phillips. That was great. Last but not least, we have Mr. Flournoy's son, Derek Flournoy, that would like to come up and say a few words.
Thank you for having me.
Kind of self-serving, I'm afraid.
What? What'd you say? No, you didn't leave me much to talk about here, but I can remember, so 53 years of service. I'm 52, and so it's when you put it in perspective, man, that is a long time to serve. I remember when I was a kid, he used to drag me here to Rotary, and I'd sit with him, and obviously some of the people that are here were here then as well. But
not many of them.
One of the things that I want you to do today, if you have the chance, and if not today, at a later time, you've got to get him to tell you the story about, and some of you I know this, but the story about when he started introducing people and he remembered everyone's name. It's one of the most amazing stories. You won't probably believe it. How many people were there that you ended up?
It was in England.
I know it was in England. It was at the exchange program, I think. You remember how many it was?
About 100.
Yeah, it's very fascinating to listen to, but that's one of the things I remember, one of the funniest stories I remember that he told.
It's pretty amazing.
You know, having him as my dad has been you know, it's been great. We've led a blessed life. I've got a wonderful family, wonderful wife, Lisa, and my sister, Lisa, and the rest of my family and my kids. And so much of who I am, obviously, I attribute to him. And so it's a great honor for you to have him here today and giving him this honor and the Bob Flournoy Day by the mayor. That's great. So I can't think of anybody more deserving. And from the family, we truly appreciate all of you and all that you've done in supporting him and all of his endeavors, because he is the flag with the 4 on it is. You might just rename it Bob Flournoy flag. So, anyway, thank you for having us.
All right, well, thank you so much, Derek, for those kind words, and thank you to everyone who was here and came up and speak. Yes, Bill
Would also
Royal.
need to
Sorry,
recognize,
Ronnie.
if you don't mind, ma'am, the lovely lady who had to put up with him all these years.
Yes.
Lovely, beautiful wife. It is a pleasure to have our presence, and your pleasure to be here.
May I just say one quick thing?
Absolutely.
She's a Paul Harris Fellow, and for those who are familiar with Rotary, that's an important thing for us. And she's been a good partner. I just want to say seems to me a lot to do about really these great organizations and great things, but not so much about what I've done. I've got the good sense to know when I find something good to catch on to it and stay with it. She and I will be married 60 years in June. The Rotary Club, probably the 3 worldwide organizations that I love and really have determined to stay with as long as I live. You're not a worldwide organization, so I'm sticking with you too. One of them is the Church of Jesus Christ. That's first and foremost. The second one is the Rotary Club.
The Church of Jesus Christ by Latter-day Saints.
No, not by Latter-day Saints. No, thank you. Oh, you ruined that line. Anyway, and the Rotary Club and the Salvation Army, all worldwide organizations doing good for the world. And I feel so privileged and honored to be able to just be associated with it, because I can see firsthand the work that's being done around the world. Had the opportunity in 1992. The Iron Curtain fell in 89. In 92, I'd been associated and was chairman of the board of a group that put on The Promise, a Christian musical play in Glen Rose. We took that and 200 people from the United States to Moscow, to Russia, and rented the Palace of Congresses within the walls of the Kremlin, Kremlin walls, and we put on that Christian play, 34 performances there. It's unbelievable that we could come there and do all that. We rented a ship in the Moscow harbor that was frozen and couldn't move, and that's where we all stayed. It was safer there. It was really a lot of unique challenges, but we've always dedicated the work of The Promise primarily to the Salvation Army. Right outside of Glen Rose, Texas, is Camp Hablazell at Cleburne, or near Cleburne there, and we've always brought the youth from the Salvation Army camp over to see The Promise, and we invited. Imagine, the Soviet Union was no more, so we had all these different countries, and none of them had allowed the Salvation Army in. And immediately when the Iron Curtain fell, the Salvation Army just went all over that portion of the world. And we invited them to come to the performances of The Promise. And over 700 Salvation Army officers came from all over the Soviet Union to Moscow to do that. So our connection with the Salvation Army and the Lord and all has been just phenomenal. It's such a great blessing for me and for Jeannie and I both at that time. But to be associated with the people in Angelina County, my family, I couldn't have a better family anyway in the world, and friends, the most amazing friends. I love this community. I love this city. Served it for 41 years as its city attorney. And so obviously we're connected. But anyway, I don't feel like I deserve any of this, but I'm so grateful for you all to acknowledge it. Hopefully somebody else will feel like that maybe there's an encouragement for them to get in there and do something as well.
Can I say just one
Sure.
thing?
Uh-oh.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to thank everybody that came. I know I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen today. And I thought, I don't want to, y'all come all and celebrate us and everything. It's kind of awkward. I felt kind of funny about that. Like, oh, come on. But anyway, I want to express to you that each and every one of you, and you are Rotarians, and all of you, we've loved you so long. We've loved this organization. We really enjoyed the exchange students and the students that we got here from England and the ones that we sent, to England, to Eastbourne. That was the highlight in our life. And
So our grandchildren.
And our grandchildren enjoyed those. Our children enjoyed some of those students. But I want to thank you. I love every one of you. This is such a wonderful community, a giving community, a loving community. And I appreciate your coming today, because on Monday, I know you have to bounce out of bed and go and start the week again, and then you gotta go and listen to Rotary and listen to the program. So we so much thank you and all that you did, because we'll never forget this. Never forget any one of you, everyone that's here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On behalf of the Rotary Club, I'd like to say thank you to both of you, Mr. Flournoy, for all of your service for 53 years. That's pretty amazing. And thank you guys all for coming. We hope to see you back. We meet here every Monday in this room at 12 o'clock if you'd ever like to come and join us. But please feel free to stay, have some cake. We'll be around. And if no one has anything else to add, I think we will be adjourned. Thank you so much.